everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Podcasty Master. I'm Chelsea, and I'm here with Wade as always. And today we're talking about a person's name you might be familiar with. Somebody called Walt Disney. Might have heard.
Surely you've heard of him before.
Yes. But many might not know his early years. Many people might not know that Walt Disney himself grew up in the Midwest. And there's actually places you can visit today. Mm-hmm. So, you could go to the parks on each coast, but you could also just come visit the Midwest to check out his birthplace, his boyhood home, and his first animation studio.
Oh, yeah. Which, over the last year, between the two of us, Chelsea and I have gotten the chance to go visit some of these places, which is more of an educational experience, I think. Mm-hmm. These places aren't really made for, entertainment, I suppose.
Yeah. They're not a theme park, but yes.
Yeah, they're not parks or anything like that. But, it's like museums, historical places, things like that. But we're going to go over some of those locations that we got to visit and kind of go over Disney's life a little bit. Because I bet there's some stuff that you probably didn't know about him that led to, how and why he became who he was.
Yeah. And so definitely we can start off with where he was born. That Walt Disney was born in Chicago. So right around the time of the Columbia Exposition, or the Chicago World's Fair, as many people know it as, Elias Disney, his father, bought some property in Chicago, and with the help of his wife, who actually designed the house, and then he built the house by hand. And in that actual house is where not only did Walt's older brother Roy was born, and then Walt himself was literally born in that house, and then his younger sister as well. So it's not even just the historical thing of Walt and his family lived in this house. Well, he was also actually born on the second floor. You can go, it's funny. They offer tours occasionally to the property, and you can go check out all the rooms, and then they're like, and this spot is where Walt was born.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, no, but yeah, it's fun to see because you're like, oh yeah, because Walt was born in 1901, so that was a very long time ago. But yeah, it's really interesting to see because all these places we're going to talk about of where Walt grew up, the Walt Disney Company doesn't own these properties. These are all restored and taken care of by different nonprofit organizations. And so they've had to do lots of fundraising over the years to restore these properties to what they are. For example, the house in Chicago, the nonprofit that owns it, they bought it in 2013 and had been restoring it for years. And it wasn't until about, I think, 2 years ago, they actually had a special grand opening and allowed their first tours of the home itself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because after the Disney family lived there, it was just a regular house. So lots of people have come and gone living in that property.
Sure. Mm-hmm. No notoriety or anything like that. Just another place for somebody to live in.
Yeah, until now, when it's owned by this nonprofit and they have an extra little special street sign outside of it. There's a free little library out front, and they just tried to restore the outside to look as much as it did when Walt and his family was there. And there's fun little photographs you can see of them growing up at the home, because he didn't live in that home very long before his father Elias was kind of fed up with, the vibes of the growing area. So he was like, nope, we're gonna move somewhere much quieter. We're going to move into the middle of nowhere, Missouri, to Marceline, and live on a farm. And so that was when he was around 5 years old. They moved to Marceline.
And it wasn't so much a random place, right? Didn't Disney's dad's brother already kind of live in the area? Mm-hmm. He had a farm and helped Disney's dad also buy a farm, something like that.
Yeah. And so they moved there in 1906.
So he was not very old when they arrived in Marceline at all.
No. But Walt Disney would recall, in his later years, the fondness of his time living in Marceline, because they only lived there for about 5 years of his life. But he just talks about how it made an impact on his life with, his love of trains. Marceline, the railroad goes right through that area, and Walt enjoyed watching the train go by. And we see his fascination with trains all the way to when he's much older, an adult, and his home in California, building the train in the backyard. For all of his guests to ride, named after his wife and everything. And what is another fun thing with the train is that later in his life, when he was still starting out with his studio, he made a live action movie called The Great Locomotive Chase. And he would later come back to Marceline and kind of was like, I have a gift for you guys because you guys like me. Because at that time, once Disney had become more popular, Marceline was like, hey, can we name the elementary school after you? And he's like, oh, that'd be an honor. Would you like to have a special viewing of my new film? And they're like, okay, cool. So they had it at their local theater. And
then they premiered it there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's a little neat fact. And the setup of Marceline has a main street, and they actually have a sign there that says Main Street USA with a little Mickey icon on it, which was the actual inspiration for Walt Disney's Main Street USA in Disneyland. And that you also see reflected in Disney World as well.
Mm-hmm. And you can, within the museum that they have in Marceline for Disney,
mm-hmm.
on the second floor, you can go up and you can see all of the models that he used to kind of structure out Disneyland when it first came out. And you, especially in that model, you can see the similarities between Disney's Main Street USA and then Marceline's Main Street. Because you can look out the window of the museum and kind of there's Main Street. You can kind of see it and compare it to the model. And it was pretty fun.
Yeah. No, Marceline is such a cute little area to explore, and it's just so rich in its own history, but then also just the connections to Walt Disney as well. Because, yeah, you can go and visit the museum, which is definitely worth a spot to check out. There's all kinds of stuff, like you mentioned, Wade, to see the models and history. And there's a couple little parks scattered throughout, whether it's named after Walt Disney or kind of have, one of Disney, Land's first rides was a ride called, Autopia, which was a little driving, little, drive cars around. And they kind of made almost a little part of a park in Marceline that is a little mini track for those types of cars.
For the kids.
Yeah, for kids to play or walk around and explore. And I think that's really cute because I think the last time I was there, they hadn't actually finished that area yet. They've been continuously working on trying to make these newer parks and newer exhibits for people to come visit Marceline. But I did get a chance to go to the barn because the barn is still there on the land that Disney lived with his family. And you can kind of go inside. One of the things that people do in the barn is they totally write their name on the barn and stuff. So my name's on there somewhere.
Part of history.
Yes. So that's kind of neat to see. And you can kind of it's actually funny how you can kind of progressively go west. So you could if you wanted to do your own little mini tour of Disney history, start in Chicago, go to Marceline, and then you can also head to Kansas City as well. Because after Walt lived with his family in Marceline for 5 or so years, his father decided to move their family to Kansas City. And this is kind of where we see more of Walt's life, where he goes to art school and he gets really more involved with media in general. But then at some point during this time, I think Walt's father decides to move the family back to Chicago. And that's really where Walt himself becomes almost of age, and he decides to kind of do his own thing. And so this is right around the time when World War I was going on, and he tries to sign up. But they're like, dude, you're way too young, even though he was a year from the eligibility date. So then he goes back later and he's like, here's my ID, here's my forged documents. I'm totally old enough. And so he joins and he works with the Red Cross. But by the time he makes it over to Europe, the war is finished. Then he comes back to the US and is like, I'm going to go back to Kansas City and I'm going to work on something cool. I'm going to make my own cartoons. So he and his brother, they work together, they get a bunch of animators together, and this is where we see Walt's first studio, Laugh-O-Gram Studio, where they make a bunch of variety of cartoons. It's one of his early things he did, even before he did Mickey Mouse and stuff like that. And that studio doesn't last very long, unfortunately. It eventually causes him to go bankrupt in the early 1920s. And
I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Walt's story is not one of, it's just easy for him the entire time. He has lots of struggles, lots of things are just not working out. We've also seen with one of his first characters is Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, but due to the company he's working for later on, the copyright issues, he doesn't get to keep that character. So then that's when we see Walt create Mickey Mouse and then slowly take off from there. But yeah, after his studios goes bankrupt in Kansas City, then that's when he heads to California and works through all that from there. But today in Kansas City, his studio kind of still stands in the downtown area. It's a huge building, and another nonprofit is currently working on trying to restore it and kind of almost making it I think kind of almost like a makerspace, so other creatives can have a place to hang out in the city and also work on their own projects and just kind of be in an informational space to be used for a variety of things. But that is not an easy task, and I know they're still raising money for that. So.
For sure. Yeah, they'll probably be doing that for a while.
Yeah. But another interesting thing with Disney growing up in the Midwest is that with the Chicago home, another way that this nonprofit is raising money to keep restoring and allowing people to come visit it is through a soda company called Ozell Soda, which actually Walt's father, Elias Disney, helped fund. He was an early investor, basically as a way against prohibition, to be okay, well, people should drink this soda instead. Let's make all these sodas. And it was this Ozell Soda Company. But unfortunately, that company didn't work out for Walt's father. But then they were able to revitalize this soda company today. So you can actually buy all these sodas have these fun little animations that are very Disney-esque inspired and little characters on it that look like the family. And you can find them in probably all across the country, actually, in Rocket Fizz, those candy soda stores. Mm-hmm. And so they have a root beer, a vanilla, I think there's a pineapple flavored. There's all kinds of sodas. They're fun. They're pretty good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to chase some of those down sometime.
Yeah.
How's the root beer?
The root beer's not too bad. Yeah, it's pretty decent. It's kind of more designed specifically as a root beer float. So it's definitely fun. They're also so cute. Just the designs of it. They also even have an app, I think, with a little silly game as well to play that's free.
Okay.
A little soda pop bubble game or something.
Interesting.
Yeah. But another interesting thing, because much later in Walt's life, so after Disneyland opened, which opened in 1955, Disney was looking for another location to have a theme park. And he actually first turned to St. Louis, Missouri. Because St. Louis, Missouri would have been home to Disney's second theme park. And it was going to be much different than Disneyland itself. It was going to be called Walt Disney's Riverfront Square. Some plans say it could have been a whole indoor thing. Others said it might have been partially indoors. But it was really going to be more about a historical park, almost old-timey. It might have been more of the Western style, and it was going to have historical rides. Actually, Pirates of the Caribbean was going to be one of the rides. It was going to have a Lewis and Clark themed thing, and also I think a Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. But due to a variety of reasons, with just there's some rumors that it might have been because Disney didn't want to have alcohol in the park, so Anheuser-Busch was kind of your park's gonna fail because you don't want me to serve my alcohol here. And then I think there was just the plannings and logistics, I think everything just kind of fell through, and Disney started looking elsewhere, which then that's when he turned to Florida, and we got Disney World in 1971.
Imagine if we had a Disney park,
a theme park
right in the middle
Midwest.
Of the country. Oh my gosh.
Yes. It'd be fun. But for those who are interested in history, the Midwest does have Walt Disney's early life.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just thought, it was kind of fun to share, and it's cool places to visit that we've gotten the chance to visit and share some things that people might not know.
Yeah, because you see a lot of the animation studio stuff, of course, everybody gets to live that every day. It's just part of living at this point. But, his life is a lot more fascinating than that. There's so much more that happens than just that.
Yeah, definitely. And yes, we didn't do a comprehensive history of even his time within the Midwest. There's definitely a lot more details there. So we encourage you to look up information or go visit these places. But yeah, any other final notes about Disney?
No, I don't think so.
Well, listeners, we hope you enjoyed us talking about Walt Disney's life and hope you learned something new, or at least you hope you enjoyed us talking about this. You can follow us on social media at PodDemastered, and make sure that you follow or subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss out on future episodes. But yeah, once again, thanks so much for listening to this week's episode, and we hope you tune in to the next one.
See ya.